Hezekiah says to them, hey, there's more with us than with them. Now we're going to find out there were at least 185,000 people with Sennacherib. And here's Hezekiah going, hey, we got more than they do. And I can imagine a couple of guys going, really? Are they down in that tunnel? Where are you hiding them out? I'm looking around, Hezekiah. I don't see a whole lot of people here. I don't see a big, powerful army. I see, yeah, you've given us some nice shields and some weapons, and we're getting all pumped up, but I don't see 185,000. Later, Sennacherib himself, he will say to the people of Israel through his captains, he will say, look, I'll make you a deal. I'll give you 2,000 horses if you can put soldiers on them. Saying, you guys don't even have 2,000 soldiers. We've got chariots, we've got tanks, you've got little bows and arrows. That's what he was saying to them. There weren't a lot of people there. There wasn't a mighty army. But Hezekiah knew the truth. He said, hey, there's more with us than with them, because all they have is the arm of flesh. They've just got what they can do themselves. They've just got their own strength. Yeah, there's bunches of them in those chariots. They're really cool. But that's nothing, because we have the Lord our God who helps us and fights our battles for us. That is so important to hold on to. I don't know what battle you might be facing, but I'm sure you are facing a battle, because that's what this life is. It's a battle. There's little ones, there are big ones, medium size. There are nuclear attacks. And in all of them, God is the one who fights the battle for you. If you will get out of the way and let him and depend upon him, just like Hezekiah was. If you flip back to 2 Kings, here's Hezekiah full of faith, encouraging, planning for the opposition. And here's the voice of the opposition. Verse 17 in 2 Kings 18. King of Assyria sent the Tartan, that's basically his 3 high commanders, with a great army against Jerusalem to King Hezekiah. And they went up and came to Jerusalem, and when they had come up, they went and stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool, which was on the highway of the fuller's field. And when they had called to the king, Eliakim the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder came out to them. Then the Rabashak said to them, say now to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this in which you trust? You speak of having plans and power for war, but they're mere words. And in whom do you trust that you rebel against me? Now look, you're trusting in the staff of this broken reed Egypt, on which if a man leans, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust in him. But if you say to me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away and said to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem alone? Now therefore, I urge you, give a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria, and I'll give you 2,000 horses, if you're able to put on your part riders on them. How then will you repel one captain of the least of my master's servants and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Have I now come up without the Lord? And here he uses the word Lord, meaning Yahweh. Have I not come against this place? Have I now come up without the Lord against this place to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. Here Sennacherib, through his generals, says basically 3 things. Who are you trusting in? Who are you trusting in? People in Jerusalem, who are you trusting in? Where are you putting your trust? Oh, are you putting your trust in others, that somebody else is going to help you? Egypt? Forget it. You're going to lean on Egypt like a cane? He's a sharp reed, and your hand's just going to go straight through. It's going to pierce straight through your hand. It's not going to do you any good. You trusting in others? Forget it. You trust in those people in your church? Oh, man. You call somebody from your church to pray for you, they're not going to pray for you. They're not going to do anything. You trusting in Pastor Kevin? Who's he? You trusting in this person and that person? They're weak. They can't do anything for you. You trusting the Lord, he says? Well, Hezekiah was the guy who tore down all his altars, all the high places and all this stuff. Wasn't he? Saying, yeah, you just got to go to Jerusalem and worship. You trusting in your own strength? Man, you can't even put 2,000 men on horses. Are you trusting in others to come alongside you in your time of trouble? Are you trusting in the Lord and the enemy is saying to you, yeah, but when have you really shown yourself strong in the Lord? How much have you been praying? How much did you tithe last week? How much did you fill in the blank where he just maligns and maligns? You think the Lord's going to help you when you're not doing all that you can do for God? You trusting in your own strength? You think you can stand against me? Those are the things that the enemy of our souls is saying to each one of us in the midst of our opposition. Then Sennacherib says, hey, oh, and by the way, it was your God who told me to come here and wipe you out. I've talked to so many people who are facing situations and they say, well, maybe this is the Lord's will because of my sin or because of my weakness, or this must be God who's standing against me. Go back to Romans chapter 8. If God is against you, then if God is for you, then who is it who's really against you? It's not God who is condemning you. It's not God who is tearing you down. There's somebody else. He goes on to say, your God has empowered me, and no other God in this area has been able to stand up to me. Look at all the people around that I've wiped out. They all worship their God too. Didn't do them any good. Your God's not going to do you any good. He throws the voice of fear at him all the way through verse 36. Just again and again. So much so that the guys out front say, hey, just talk to us in Aramaic. Because the people up on the wall, the soldiers on the wall, they understand Hebrew, but they're not so good in Aramaic. And so they won't hear. So they won't become afraid. So that guy goes, huh? And starts shouting to the people on the wall in Hebrew about how, don't put your trust in what Hezekiah is saying. We are going to wipe you out. We are going to mop up Jerusalem with you. That's what they're saying. Fear, fear, fear. And when you look around at whatever it is that you are facing in your life, that's what the enemy wants to do in your life. He wants to fill you with fear. Well, this is going to happen. Krista and I joke, especially when the kids were young. You know, one of the kids, we couldn't find them for 5 minutes. And her tendency was just to go to the extreme. Oh man, they've been killed, and then we're going to lose the other kids, and then we're going to go to jail because we didn't know where they were right now, and just like, you know. I was a little slower in getting there, but I got there eventually. Fear. That's what the enemy wants to do, is just pile on the fear. God has delivered us from fear. In Christ, there is no fear. There is no fear. And so Hezekiah cries out to the Lord. In chapter 19 it says, when Hezekiah heard it, he tore his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth, and went into the house of the Lord. What does that mean? He humbled himself. Here you go. Well, who do they think they are? I'm God's guy. No, he humbled himself before God. Not before them, but before God.